Arrival at the edge of the unknown. Captain Mira Thorne stood on the bridge of the starship Eclipse, gazing out at the vast expanse of space. The view was mesmerizing. Countless stars twinkling like distant dreams, with a shimmering nebula painting streaks of purple and gold across the darkness. Yet, all eyes on the ship were fixed on one object, a massive, mysterious space station floating in orbit around a dim red star. The station was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its structure was elegant yet alien, with spiraling towers and glowing symbols etched into its metallic surface. It seemed to hum with energy, as if it were alive. The station had only recently been discovered when it began emitting an unknown signal, a call that reached Earth and captivated humanity's curiosity. "This is it," Mira said, her voice steady yet filled with anticipation. "We're the first humans to step into this part of the galaxy. Let's make history." Her crew, a mix of seasoned veterans and eager newcomers, looked at her with a blend of trust and excitement. Mira was not just a captain. She was a symbol of resilience. As one of the first women to command a deep space exploration mission, she had faced challenges and doubt her entire career. But she had proven her worth, time and again. "Captain, we're in position," said Lieutenant Harper, the ship's navigator. His hands danced over the controls as the ship slowed to a halt near the station. No signs of life on board, but the station's power levels are stable. "It's waiting." Mira nodded. "Prepare the shuttle. We'll head to the docking bay." As the shuttle detached from the Eclipse and glided toward the station, a hush fell over the team. The silence wasn't just external. It seemed to seep into their minds, as if the station itself demanded reverence. Mira kept her eyes fixed on the docking bay's entrance, a massive circular portal that slowly opened as they approached. Pale blue light spilled out, casting an eerie glow over the shuttle. "Captain, this is giving me the creeps," muttered Sergeant Kane, a burly security officer. "It's too quiet." "Stay sharp," Mira replied. "We don't know what we're dealing with yet." The shuttle landed smoothly inside the docking bay, which was pristine and strangely welcoming. There were no signs of damage, debris, or decay. It was as if someone had prepared the station for their arrival. Mira felt a chill run down her spine, but she masked her unease with a calm demeanor. The team disembarked, their boots echoing on the metallic floor. Mira took the lead, her eyes scanning every detail. The walls were adorned with glowing symbols that pulsed softly, as if responding to their presence. She stopped to examine one, a swirling pattern that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. "What do you make of this, Dr. Ilara?" Mira asked, turning to the team's linguist and sinologist. Dr. Ilara stepped closer, her face alight with curiosity. "These symbols, they're not just writing. They're a language of motion and light. I've never seen anything like it." Before Mira could respond, a low hum filled the air. The lights along the walls brightened, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the room. It showed a map of the station, highlighting their current location, and a path leading deeper inside. At the bottom of the hologram, words appeared in perfect English. "Welcome, women of Earth. The future depends on you." The team exchanged startled glances. "How does it know us?" Harper asked, his voice tinged with unease. "That's what we're here to find out," Mira said firmly. She gestured for the team to follow the highlighted path. "Stay close, and keep your comms open." As they moved deeper into the station, the atmosphere grew more surreal. The corridors seemed to shift subtly, leading them exactly where the hologram had indicated. Along the way, they passed rooms filled with strange artifacts, gleaming orbs, intricate machinery, and holographic projections of alien landscapes. Each discovery added to the mystery. Finally, they entered a large chamber at the heart of the station. The ceiling stretched high above them, dotted with glowing stars that mimicked the galaxy outside. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, and on it rested a small crystalline object that pulsed with a gentle light. Mira approached cautiously. "What is this?" she murmured. Before anyone could answer, the station's lights dimmed, and a voice echoed around them. It was calm, yet commanding, and undeniably feminine. "Welcome, Mira Thorne. You have arrived as expected. Your journey begins now." The voice sent shivers down Mira's spine. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. The voice didn't answer directly. Instead, the crystalline object began to glow brighter, and the voice said, "You must prove your worth. The survival of many depends on your strength and unity. Will you accept this responsibility?" Mira glanced at her team, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. She turned back to the pedestal and squared her shoulders. "We didn't come all this way to turn back now. We accept." The chamber fell silent for a moment, and then the station trembled slightly, as if acknowledging her words. The crystalline object floated upward, emitting a beam of light that illuminated Mira and her team. And then, without warning, the Eclipse, their ship, went dark. Every system shut down, leaving them stranded. "What just happened?" Harper exclaimed, checking his communicator. "The ship's not responding." Mira clenched her fists. "It seems the station has decided to test us already. Let's find out what it wants." The scene ended with the team standing in the glowing chamber, their fate uncertain, but their resolve unshaken. The journey had just begun. Secrets of the station. The silence of the station was unnerving. Captain Mira Thorne led her crew deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, the glowing symbols on the walls pulsing softly as though they were alive. Every step they took felt like they were walking into the unknown, and every shadow seemed to hold secrets waiting to be unveiled. "Captain," Lieutenant Harper said, his voice a low whisper, "it's as if this place is aware of us." Mira nodded, her sharp eyes scanning the surroundings. "Stay alert. Whatever brought us here has a purpose." The team arrived at a wide chamber, its walls lined with towering pillars that shimmered with light. In the center of the room was a holographic pedestal, displaying an image of the galaxy in breathtaking detail. As Mira stepped closer, the hologram shifted, zooming in on their location. The red star they orbited was marked with an intricate sigil, one that seemed to pulsate like a heartbeat. Suddenly, a figure materialized from the hologram. It was a woman, tall, regal, and entirely alien. Her translucent form shimmered with light, and her eyes, though otherworldly, held a warmth that was both unsettling and inviting. "Welcome, travelers," the figure said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "I am EV, the caretaker of this station. You have been chosen." "Chosen for what?" Mira asked, her tone firm but respectful. EV's gaze swept over the crew, pausing momentarily on each individual as if assessing them. "This station was created by an alliance of civilizations long before your kind took to the stars. It is a place of learning, of preparation. A great threat looms over the galaxy, and you have been brought here to help confront it." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Sergeant Kane broke the silence. "A threat? What kind of threat?" EVE's expression turned grave. "One that has consumed countless worlds and civilizations. A force that adapts, evolves, and conquers. It is why this station was built, to prepare champions for the challenges ahead." Mira's jaw tightened. "And why us? Why bring us here?" EVE gestured toward the glowing walls, which suddenly displayed images of Mira and her crew. They showed moments from their lives. Mira's struggle to prove herself in a male-dominated fleet, Harper's years of relentless training, Dr. Ilara's tireless pursuit of alien languages, and Kane's courage under fire. It was as if the station had been watching them for years. "You were chosen because you embody the resilience, adaptability, and courage required to face what is coming," EVE said. "But the path ahead will not be easy. You must first prove your unity." At that moment, a series of doors opened around the chamber, revealing separate corridors leading in different directions. The hologram flickered, and a new set of symbols appeared. Each corridor displayed an image, a test, perhaps, that each crew member was meant to face alone. This is a test of your strength as individuals and as a team, EVE explained. Only by succeeding can you unlock the knowledge this station holds. Mira felt a knot tighten in her stomach. You want us to split up? Yes, EVE replied. The challenges are designed for each of you. You must confront your fears, your doubts, and your limits. But remember, the true test lies in your ability to come back together. The crew hesitated, the weight of the decision pressing down on them. Mira took a deep breath and stepped forward. All right, we'll do it. One by one, the crew entered their respective corridors. Mira's led her into a long, dimly lit tunnel that seemed to stretch endlessly. As she walked, the walls came alive with projections of her past, moments of triumph, failure, and heartbreak. She saw herself as a young cadet, facing ridicule from her peers. She saw her first command, a mission that ended in disaster despite her best efforts. The memories felt real, as if she were reliving them. A voice echoed through the tunnel, her own doubts speaking back to her. You're not strong enough. You're not good enough. You'll fail again. Mira clenched her fists, pushing forward. I've heard it all before, she muttered to herself, and I'm still standing. At the end of the tunnel, she found herself in a small room. In the center was a console, displaying a single message. Trust is the key. Choose wisely. Before her were 3 levers, each glowing with a different color: red, blue, and green. The console offered no instructions, only the cryptic message. Mira stared at the levers, her mind racing. The wrong choice could jeopardize the mission, or worse, her team's safety. She closed her eyes, remembering EVE's words. This is a test of unity. Trust, she whispered. Then she reached out and pulled the blue lever. The room trembled for a moment, and then the walls shifted, revealing a new corridor leading back to the main chamber. As she stepped through, Mira saw her crew emerging from their respective paths, each looking shaken but determined. Harper was the first to speak. That was intense. Did you make it? Mira asked. He nodded. Barely. But I think I figured something out. This place isn't just testing us, it's teaching us. Before Mira could respond, the hologram of EVE appeared once more. You have taken the first step, she said, but there is much more to learn. The challenges ahead will demand more from you than you can imagine. Mira met EVE's gaze, her resolve unwavering. We're ready. The hologram flickered, and a new path opened before them, glowing with an inviting yet ominous light. Their journey was far from over, and the secrets of the station were only beginning to unravel. The challenge unfolds. The crew stood at the entrance to the newly revealed path, their faces lit by the soft glow emanating from the corridor. The air was heavy with anticipation, and an eerie hum vibrated through the walls, as if the station itself was alive and waiting. Captain Mira Thorne led the way, her heart pounding, but her expression calm. We've proven we can face these individual tests, Mira said, glancing back at her team. Now we work together. No one is left behind. The crew nodded, their resolve hardened by the trials they had faced alone. Sergeant Kane gripped his weapon tightly, while Dr. Ilara adjusted the portable scanner strapped to her wrist. Lieutenant Harper followed closely, his eyes scanning every shadow for signs of danger. As they entered the corridor, the walls shifted, morphing into a strange, liquid-like surface that rippled with every step. The holographic figure of EVE appeared ahead of them, her translucent form shimmering like a mirage. You have passed the initial tests, EVE said, her voice calm yet commanding. But unity is not built solely on trust. It must withstand pressure, conflict, and sacrifice. This next challenge will test the bond between you. Before anyone could respond, the corridor split into 2 paths, each glowing a different color, one red and one green. The team stopped, exchanging uncertain looks. What's the catch? Harper asked, breaking the silence. It's never this simple. EVE's hologram flickered, and the two paths began to display images. The red path showed a sequence of hostile alien ships approaching a small colony. The green path displayed an image of a collapsing starship with terrified passengers aboard. Both scenarios were equally dire. These represent two crises, EVE explained. You must choose one to resolve. Your choice will determine the fate of many. The path you do not take will face destruction. Mira clenched her jaw. This is a no-win situation. Leadership often requires such decisions, EVE replied. But choose quickly. Time is running out. The crew erupted into debate. Kane argued for the red path, pointing out the alien ships posed a clear and present threat. Harper leaned toward the green path, emphasizing the innocent lives aboard the collapsing starship. Dr. Ilara remained silent, her face pale as she studied the images. Mira raised her hand, silencing the discussion. Enough. We'll take the green path. Saving the passengers is our priority. Without further hesitation, she led the team down the green corridor. The air grew colder as they walked, and the walls displayed holographic simulations of a starship tearing apart in zero gravity. The cries of the passengers echoed faintly, adding to the tension. They arrived at a large, circular room with a control panel in the center. The hologram of the collapsing starship floated above it, along with a timer counting down from 5 minutes. EVE's voice filled the room. To stabilize the starship, you must align the power cores. Each core requires a unique code sequence to activate. But beware, errors will accelerate the destruction. Of course, it's a puzzle, Harper muttered, moving to the console. The crew split up, each taking a different section of the control panel. Mira monitored the holographic display, coordinating their efforts. Ilara deciphered the alien symbols on the screen, while Harper worked to stabilize the energy levels. Kane kept a close watch on their surroundings, his weapon ready for anything. Harper, we're losing power on Core 2. Mira called out. I'm on it. Harper shouted back, his fingers flying across the controls. But this system's more advanced than anything I've seen. It's like it's fighting me. Ilara's voice cut in. I've got the code sequence for Core 3. Inputting it now. As the timer ticked down, the room began to tremble. The walls shimmered with chaotic energy, and the hologram of the starship flickered, showing it breaking apart piece by piece. Mira, we're running out of time. Kane shouted. We need to move faster. Focus, everyone. Mira commanded. We're not losing this. With seconds to spare, Ilara inputted the final code. The hologram of the starship stabilized, and the timer froze at 02. The trembling stopped, and the chaotic energy dissipated. EVE reappeared, her expression neutral but her tone approving. You have succeeded. The passengers of the starship are safe, thanks to your teamwork. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief, but the weight of their choice lingered. What about the red path? Harper asked quietly. EVE's gaze softened, almost as if she understood their guilt. The colony is lost. But remember, no one can save everyone. Your strength lies in making the best decision possible with the information you have. Mira nodded solemnly. We'll carry that weight. As they exited the room, a new corridor opened before them, its glow brighter and more inviting than before. But the crew knew better than to let their guard down. The station's challenges were far from over, and each test seemed to push them closer to an unknown truth. This isn't just about survival, Mira said, her voice firm. This station is teaching us something. But what? No one had an answer. All they knew was that the stakes were growing higher, and the unity they had fought to build would be tested again. The path ahead promised more trials, and perhaps the answers they sought. Unity in chaos. The aftermath of their decision to save the passengers weighed heavily on the crew as they followed the newly opened corridor. The air felt heavier now, as though the station was silently judging their every move. Captain Mira Thorne walked at the front, her mind a storm of thoughts. Had they made the right choice? Could they have done more? The corridor led to a vast, open chamber with a transparent floor that revealed the swirling cosmos beneath them. Stars glittered like scattered diamonds, and distant nebulae painted the view with streaks of color. At the center of the chamber was a massive, dormant machine, its design both intricate and alien. The machine emitted faint pulses of light, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. "What is this place?" Sergeant Kane muttered, his voice breaking the silence. Dr. Ilara adjusted her scanner, which beeped erratically. "It's a power core, or something similar. The energy levels here are off the charts." Before Mira could respond, EVE's hologram appeared, her form flickering slightly as if the station itself was strained. "You stand before the heart of the station. It is here that your unity will be tested once more." The crew exchanged wary glances. "What now?" Harper asked. "Another puzzle. Another no-win scenario." EVE's eyes seemed to glow brighter. "The station is under threat. A cosmic storm of unprecedented scale is approaching, one that will destroy this structure and all aboard if you do not act. The machine before you is the only thing capable of shielding the station, but it requires complete synchronization from all of you to function." "Synchronization?" Mira asked, stepping closer to the machine. "What does that mean?" "The machine is designed to respond to the neural patterns of its operators," EVE explained. "You must work in perfect harmony to activate it. However, any discord among you will destabilize the process, potentially leading to catastrophic failure." Harper let out a low whistle. "No pressure, right?" Mira ignored the sarcasm and addressed her crew. "You heard her. We need to get this thing running. Ilara, you handle the interface. Harper, you monitor the power levels. Kane, keep an eye on the surroundings. We don't know what might happen." As they approached the machine, a series of glowing panels rose from its surface, each marked with alien symbols. The crew took their positions, placing their hands on the panels. The moment they made contact, a surge of energy coursed through them, and the machine came to life, its lights brightening and its pulses quickening. At first, the synchronization seemed simple. The panels displayed patterns of light and sound, which the crew had to replicate in unison. But as the process continued, the patterns became more complex, testing their focus and coordination. Sweat beaded on Harper's forehead as he struggled to keep up, while Kane gritted his teeth, his frustration mounting. "This is impossible," Kane growled. "It's like the thing's reading our minds and messing with us." "It is," Ilara said, her voice strained. "The machine is picking up on our emotions and thoughts. If we're not completely aligned, it won't work." Mira's voice cut through the tension. "Then we align. Focus on the mission. Remember why we're here." The reminder seemed to steady the team, and for a moment, they found their rhythm again. The machine's pulses grew steadier, and the lights in the chamber brightened. But just as they were nearing completion, the floor beneath them trembled. The transparent panels flickered, revealing cracks that spread like spiderwebs. A low rumble filled the air, and the swirling cosmos below seemed to warp and twist. "What's happening?" Harper shouted. EVE's voice echoed urgently. "The storm is accelerating. The station's structural integrity is failing. You must complete the synchronization now." The cracks in the floor deepened, and the machine's pulses became erratic. Harper's panel dimmed, and Kane's began emitting sparks. The crew's unity was slipping away. Mira took a deep breath, forcing herself to stay calm. "Listen to me," she said, her voice firm and steady. "We can do this, but only if we trust each other. Harper, stop overthinking. Kane, control your temper. Ilara, focus. We've faced worse than this." Her words seemed to cut through the chaos, grounding the team. They adjusted their positions and reconnected with the machine, their movements more synchronized than before. The patterns grew even more complex, but the crew moved as one, their trust in Mira and each other guiding them. The machine let out a resonant hum, and a beam of light shot upward, piercing the chamber ceiling. The cracks in the floor sealed, and the trembling stopped. Outside the station, the cosmic storm collided with the shield generated by the machine, creating a dazzling display of light and energy. As the chamber stabilized, EVE reappeared, her form steady once more. "You have succeeded," she said, her tone carrying a note of approval. "The station is safe, and your bond has proven strong. But remember, this is only the beginning. Greater challenges lie ahead." The crew stepped back from the machine, their exhaustion evident but their spirits unbroken. Mira looked at each of them, pride shining in her eyes. "We did it," she said quietly. "Together." But even as they celebrated their victory, a new path opened before them, its glow brighter and more ominous than any they had seen before. The station's trials were far from over, and the stakes were higher than ever. The betrayal. The crew's relief at surviving the cosmic storm was short-lived. The new path ahead was darker, its walls made of a strange, black material that seemed to absorb light. The glowing symbols they had come to expect were absent, replaced by faint, flickering lines of red that pulsed like veins. "This place feels wrong," Sergeant Kane muttered, his hand resting on his weapon. "Stay sharp," Captain Mira Thorne instructed, her voice steady. But even she felt the unease creeping in, like a shadow at the edge of her mind. As they advanced, the corridor widened into a vast, circular room. In the center stood a towering pillar made of crystalline material, its surface alive with shifting images and symbols. It emitted a low, steady hum that resonated through their chests. Around the room were consoles, their screens glowing faintly with alien text. Dr. Ilara approached one of the consoles, her scanner in hand. "These readings. This isn't just a power source. It's a database, a repository of knowledge." She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. "It contains the history of this station and the civilizations that built it." The crew exchanged glances. The thought of unlocking the secrets of advanced alien species was tantalizing, but Mira sensed there was more to it. She stepped forward. "EVE, what's the purpose of this room?" EVE's holographic form appeared beside the pillar. "This is the archive, the central hub of the station's knowledge. It holds the key to understanding the threat you must face and the means to combat it." Before anyone could respond, a console near the pillar lit up, displaying a strange diagram. Ilara studied it, her eyes widening. This is a weapon. The station was designed to create a defense against the threat, but this weapon is incomplete." Harper frowned. "Incomplete? What are we supposed to do with a half-built weapon?" EVE's gaze turned toward Mira. "To complete the weapon, the station requires full activation, but doing so will bind it to your species permanently. The knowledge and power it contains will be yours alone to wield." Mira's stomach tightened. The responsibility was immense, but she knew the choice wasn't hers alone. "We'll need time to decide." As the crew deliberated, Ilara lingered near one of the consoles, her eyes fixed on the glowing text. Her fingers danced over the controls, accessing files faster than anyone noticed. The room's lights dimmed slightly, but no one paid it much mind. Except Harper, who caught the subtle change. "Ilara," he said, his voice cautious. "What are you doing?" Ilara froze, then turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "I'm gathering information. We need to understand what we're dealing with." Harper stepped closer. "You're not just gathering information. You're hiding something." The tension in the room thickened as the rest of the crew turned their attention to the exchange. Mira narrowed her eyes. "Ilara, explain." Ilara hesitated, then straightened her shoulders. "This station isn't just a tool. It's a weapon of unimaginable power. If we activate it, we can use it to secure humanity's dominance in the galaxy. We wouldn't just survive the threat. We'd control the future." Mira's jaw tightened. "That's not our decision to make. This station isn't about conquest. It's about protection." "Protection." Ilara's voice rose, frustration breaking through her calm demeanor. And what happens when the next threat comes? Or the next? We'll always be at the mercy of forces beyond our control unless we take this opportunity. Kane stepped forward, his hand resting on his weapon. You're talking about taking control of something we barely understand. That's not protection. That's arrogance. The argument escalated, voices overlapping as the crew divided. Ilara's words had struck a chord in some, while others stood firmly with Mira. The room seemed to darken further, as if the station itself disapproved of the discord. Suddenly, the pillar in the center pulsed with a blinding light. EVE's voice cut through the chaos. You are divided. The station cannot function with discord among its operators. Resolve this conflict, or it will resolve itself. The warning was clear, but the tension only grew. Ilara, desperate to prove her point, moved toward the pillar. If you won't act, I will. The station recognizes strength of will. It'll respond to me. Ilara, stop. Mira shouted, but it was too late. Ilara placed her hand on the pillar, and the room erupted into chaos. The walls trembled, and arcs of energy shot out from the consoles, forcing the crew to dive for cover. The pillar's hum grew deafening, and the images on its surface spiraled out of control. Ilara, you're destabilizing the station, Harper yelled, struggling to reach her. I can control it, Ilara insisted, but her voice wavered with uncertainty. Mira made a split-second decision. She lunged toward Ilara, grabbing her arm and pulling her away from the pillar. The instant Ilara's hand left the surface, the chaos subsided, but the damage was done. The pillar dimmed, its energy drained. EVE reappeared, her form flickering like a dying flame. The station has been compromised. Its systems are now unstable. You must repair the damage before activation can proceed. Mira released Ilara, her eyes burning with disappointment and anger. You nearly destroyed everything. This isn't about you, Ilara. It's about all of us. Ilara looked away, shame flickering across her face. I thought I was doing the right thing. We don't need lone heroes, Mira said firmly. We need a team. The crew stood in silence, the weight of their near catastrophe pressing down on them. The path ahead was more uncertain than ever, and the station's challenges were only growing more dangerous. But one thing was clear. Unity was no longer optional. It was their only chance of survival. The sacrifice. The station trembled under their feet, its once stable systems now fluctuating with violent energy surges. The pillar at the center of the room flickered, its lights dimming as the cracks in its crystalline surface widened. The catastrophic damage caused by Ilara's misstep had destabilized the entire station. Captain Mira Thorne's face was a mask of grim determination as she barked orders to her crew. Kane, secure the exits. Harper, give me a status report on the structural integrity. Ilara, you're with me. We're going to stabilize the core, Mira commanded. The room felt alive with chaos. Sparks flew from malfunctioning consoles, and the air buzzed with the hum of failing systems. The once majestic station now seemed like a wounded beast struggling to stay alive. This place is tearing itself apart, Harper shouted, his voice barely audible over the growing roar. Structural integrity is at 40% and dropping fast. If we don't fix this, we'll be space dust in minutes. Ilara hesitated, guilt still etched on her face. Mira, no time for apologies. Mira snapped, cutting her off. We need solutions, not regrets. Move. The crew sprinted toward the far end of the room, where a secondary control panel emerged from the floor. Its interface glowed erratically, symbols flashing in a chaotic rhythm. Mira and Ilara crouched over the console, their fingers flying across the controls as they worked to decipher the alien commands. This system is a mess, Ilara muttered, her voice tinged with panic. I don't even know where to start. Focus, Mira growled. You caused this, so help me fix it. The words stung, but Ilara pushed through her shame. Her hand steadied, and she began to isolate the corrupted sections of the station's network. There's an energy overload in the core. If we don't vent it, the station will implode. And how do we do that? Mira demanded. Ilara hesitated, her eyes scanning the data. There's a manual override, but it has to be done from inside the containment chamber. Mira froze for a fraction of a second, the weight of the revelation sinking in. The containment chamber was at the heart of the station, surrounded by volatile energy fields. Entering it would be a death sentence. Is there no other way? Mira asked, her voice low but firm. Ilara shook her head. The system's too far gone. The containment chamber is the only place where the overload can be neutralized. Mira straightened, her gaze hard and unyielding. Then I'll do it. What? Kane's voice rang out as he joined them. You can't be serious, Captain. There has to be another way. There isn't, Mira said, her tone leaving no room for argument. This station has a purpose, and we've come too far to let it be destroyed now. I won't ask anyone else to make this choice. The crew erupted in protests, but Mira silenced them with a sharp gesture. This isn't up for debate. Harper, guide me to the containment chamber. Ilara, keep the system stable. Kane, protect them at all costs. Harper reluctantly nodded and activated the map on his console. The chamber's 3 levels down. You'll have to take the maintenance shaft. It's the fastest way. Without another word, Mira moved toward the shaft. But Kane stepped in her path. If you think I'm letting you do this alone, you're crazy. Mira met his eyes, her expression softening for a moment. Kane, you're the best protector we have. If you come with me, who's going to keep them safe? Trust me to do this. Kane hesitated, his fists clenching, but he finally stepped aside. You'd better come back, Captain. Mira gave him a small smile before descending into the maintenance shaft. The climb was treacherous, the shaft rattling with every tremor of the station. Sparks rained down from damaged conduits, and the air grew hotter as she approached the containment chamber. When she finally arrived, the sight was overwhelming. The containment chamber was a massive, spherical room filled with swirling energy fields that pulsed with chaotic intensity. At its center was the core, a glowing orb of raw power that seemed ready to explode at any moment. The console to vent the energy was positioned dangerously close to the core, surrounded by arcs of unstable electricity. Mira took a deep breath, her resolve unwavering. She approached the console, her hand steady as she began the override process. The alien symbols were complex, but she worked quickly, her mind laser-focused. Back in the main chamber, the crew watched the monitors in tense silence. Ilara's hands hovered over the controls, ready to assist if needed. She's initiated the override, Ilara said, her voice shaky. But the energy levels are spiking. The core's going to blow before she can finish. We can't just sit here, Kane growled, pacing like a caged animal. She told us to stay put, Harper said, though his voice betrayed his own doubts. Inside the containment chamber, Mira's console emitted a sharp beep, indicating the final phase of the override. She entered the last command, and the energy fields around the core began to stabilize. But the strain was immense, and the chamber shook violently. A sudden explosion rocked the room, and Mira was thrown to the ground. She looked up to see a large rupture in the containment field, unstable energy spilling out. The console flickered, and a warning appeared. Manual containment required. Mira pulled herself to her feet, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead. She knew what had to be done. She reached for the emergency controls and activated the manual containment protocol. A series of energy conduits extended from the walls, drawing the unstable power into the core. The process worked, but the feedback was lethal. As the chamber's energy stabilized, the station stopped shaking. In the main chamber, the crew saw the core's energy levels return to normal. Relief flooded their faces until they realized Mira's signal had disappeared. She did it, Ilara whispered, tears streaming down her face. Kane slammed his fist into a nearby console, his anger and grief spilling over. Harper closed his eyes, murmuring, "She saved us all." EVE's hologram reappeared, her expression almost sorrowful. "Captain Mira Thorne has ensured the station's survival. Her sacrifice will not be forgotten." The crew stood in stunned silence, the weight of their loss sinking in. But even in their grief, they knew Mira's actions had given them a chance. Chance to finish what they had started and fulfill the station's purpose. The glowing path ahead reappeared, brighter and more inviting than ever, as if the station itself was honoring Mira's bravery. The crew steeled themselves, vowing to carry on in her name. Their journey was not over, but their captain's sacrifice would guide them every step of the way. A new beginning. The silence in the station was deafening. Captain Mira Thorne's sacrifice had brought stability back to the station, but it had also left a gaping void in the hearts of her crew. The energy core now pulsed steadily, its light no longer chaotic but serene, as if mourning the loss of the one who had saved it. Sergeant Kane stood at the edge of the control room, his usually stoic face a mask of grief. Harper sat slumped by a console, staring blankly at the holographic map of the station. Dr. Ilara, who had been avoiding eye contact with everyone, finally broke the silence. "She gave us this chance," Ilara said, her voice trembling. "We can't waste it." Kane turned to her, his eyes blazing. "You think saying that makes it easier? We wouldn't be here if—" "Enough," Harper interrupted, his voice firm but weary. "She made her choice. Now it's on us to honor it." Kane's fists clenched, but he nodded, the fire in his eyes dimming. The team's focus shifted to the glowing path ahead, which seemed brighter than ever. The station was urging them forward, as if Mira's sacrifice had unlocked a new level of purpose. EVE's hologram materialized, her presence more stable than it had been since their arrival. Her tone was solemn but resolute. "Captain Mira Thorne's actions have fully reactivated the station. Its purpose is now clear. You are the inheritors of its legacy." Harper frowned. "Legacy? What does that mean?" EVE gestured, and the room transformed. The walls dissolved into shimmering light, revealing a panoramic view of the galaxy. Constellations twinkled in the vast darkness, and a series of highlighted points appeared, each one pulsating with ominous red light. "These are the locations of the enemy forces," EVE explained. "The threat that consumed the civilizations before you. They have remained dormant for millennia, but their awakening is imminent." Ilara stepped forward, her voice steadier now. "And the station? What role does it play?" EVE's gaze softened. "The station is not merely a repository of knowledge. It is a beacon, a rallying point for all species who seek to resist the coming darkness. With its activation, you can unite the galaxy's scattered forces, but the responsibility lies with you." The enormity of the task hung heavy in the air. Kane broke the silence, his voice gruff but determined. "So we're supposed to be the galaxy's saviors now." EVE inclined her head. "Not saviors. Leaders. The path will be fraught with peril, but unity is your greatest weapon." Captain Thorne understood this. Harper exhaled deeply, running a hand through his hair. No pressure. The glowing path extended further, leading to a large, circular door at the far end of the chamber. As the crew approached, the door slid open, revealing an expansive command center. The room was filled with advanced technology, holographic displays, intricate control panels, and a central console that emitted a soft, golden light. EVE followed them inside. "This is the command nexus, the heart of the station's operations. From here, you can send messages across the galaxy, deploy resources, and monitor the enemy's movements." Kane approached the central console, his fingers brushing against its smooth surface. This is what she gave her life for." Ilara placed a hand on his shoulder. "And it's up to us to make sure her sacrifice wasn't in vain." As the crew familiarized themselves with the Nexus, the station began to hum with renewed energy. Screens lit up with data streams, displaying the histories of countless civilizations and the strategies they had used to resist the enemy. It was a treasure trove of knowledge, one that could give humanity and its allies a fighting chance. Harper's voice broke the quiet. "We need to send out a signal. Let the galaxy know the station is active and that we're here." EVE nodded. "The beacon can amplify your message, but be aware. Activating it will draw the enemy's attention. They will come." Kane smirked, a glimmer of his old confidence returning. "Let them. They'll find we're not so easy to crush." Harper grinned. "Now there's the Kane I know." Ilara moved to the console, her hands hovering over the controls. What should the message say? Mira's words echoed in Harper's mind. "We didn't come all this way to turn back now." He glanced at Kane and Ilara, who nodded in agreement. "Tell them this," Harper said. "We are humanity. We are united, and we will stand against the darkness, together." Ilara typed the message, and the station's beacon activated. A brilliant beam of light shot into the galaxy, carrying their message of defiance and hope. The crew watched in awe as the beam extended beyond the horizon, its reach infinite. As the light faded, EVE spoke one final time. "You have taken the first step. The galaxy will answer your call. But the fight is far from over." The crew exchanged determined looks. They were no longer just survivors. They were leaders, carrying Mira's legacy forward. The path ahead was uncertain, but they were ready to face it together. The station hummed with life, and the stars outside seemed to shine brighter, as if the galaxy itself was preparing for the battles to come. This was not the end of their journey. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one that would shape the destiny of countless worlds.